Have you ever met someone who tried to steer the river of life? Someone who built dams and channels, believing they could direct its every twist and turn. They map out their entire journey, convinced that if they just follow the lines they've drawn, they'll arrive at a place called happiness. But life, like a great winding river, has a current all its own. The more you fight it, the more you try to force its flow, the more you realize you're not in control at all. You're just getting swept away. This is the story of a man who learned this lesson, not by choice, but by necessity. His name was Arthur, and from the moment he could hold a crayon, he was a planner. While other children were drawing whimsical castles and dragons, Arthur was drawing blueprints. He drew the layout of his future house, the floor plan of his future office, even the seating chart for his future wedding. His world was a grid of neatly organized boxes, each one representing a goal, a milestone, a step towards a perfectly constructed life. He believed with the unwavering conviction of youth that control was the architect of joy. He planned to study harder than anyone else, and he did. His nights illuminated by the glow of a desk lamp while the world outside slept. He planned to graduate from university a year early, and he did. His name called out in a half-empty hall long after his peers had gone home for the summer. He planned to secure a prestigious job at a top architectural firm by the age of 24, and he did, his portfolio a testament to his relentless ambition. For years, life seemed to bend to his will. His career flourished. He met a woman named Clara, who was as bright and spontaneous as he was structured and reserved. He even planned their courtship, marking dates on a calendar and scheduling romantic gestures. He proposed on the exact day he had written down in a journal 5 years prior, on a trip to a city he'd chosen for its photogenic qualities. They bought the house he had designed in his mind since childhood. Everything was falling into place, like meticulously placed dominoes, each one tipping the next in a flawless cascade. He had built his perfect life, brick by brick, plan by plan. He was the master of his own universe. And then, one ordinary Tuesday, the universe reminded him who was truly in charge. It wasn't a dramatic, cinematic explosion. It was quiet. It was a phone call. Clara, his vibrant, life-loving Clara, had been in an accident. The details were a blur, a confusing jumble of words that didn't make sense. Hospital, critical, unforeseeable. That last word echoed in his mind. Unforeseeable. It was a word that had no place in his vocabulary, no box in his carefully constructed grid. He rushed to the hospital, his heart pounding a rhythm he had never planned for. The sterile white walls, the scent of antiseptic, the hushed urgent footsteps. It was a world completely outside his control. He sat by her bedside for days, which bled into weeks. He watched the steady beep of the heart monitor, a sound that became the new, terrifying metronome of his life. All his plans, his 5-year goals, his 10-year projections, they all evaporated in the sterile air of that hospital room. They were just ink on paper, meaningless against the overwhelming reality of the moment. The future he had so meticulously designed, the one where he and Clara would grow old in their perfect house, vanished. It was like watching his life's blueprint catch fire, the neat lines curling into black ash. For the first time since he was a boy, Arthur had no plan. He didn't know what would happen tomorrow, or the next hour, or even the next minute. His control was gone, and in its place was a vast, terrifying emptiness. Clara slowly, miraculously, began to recover. But the life they returned to was not the one they had left. She needed care, patience, and a quiet strength he hadn't known he possessed. His high-powered job, once the cornerstone of his identity, had to take a back seat. The rigid schedules and ambitious deadlines were replaced by physical therapy appointments and quiet afternoons spent reading aloud to her. His world had been turned upside down. In the first few months, he was lost. He would wake up in the middle of the night, reaching for a planner that was no longer there, his mind racing to find a solution, a strategy, a way to fix this. But there was no fixing it. There was only living it. And so, he began to live, day by day, moment by moment. He started noticing things he'd never had time for before. The way the morning sun filtered through the kitchen window, casting long, dancing shadows on the floor. The sound of birds singing outside, a melody he'd always tuned out. He learned to cook, not from a recipe book, but by instinct, discovering the simple joy of creating something warm and nourishing for Clara. He watched her learn to walk again, each small, unsteady step a monumental victory that no 5-year plan could ever account for. He saw a resilience in her, a quiet grace that humbled him. They would sit in their garden, a space he had designed for optimal aesthetic appeal, and for the first time, he truly saw it. He noticed the tenacity of a single wildflower pushing its way through a crack in the pavement. He felt the warmth of the sun on his skin, not as a measurable element of the day, but as a simple, profound pleasure. Something strange and unexpected began to happen. In the absence of control, he found a sense of peace he had never known. It was a quiet, gentle feeling, like floating on a calm sea after a lifetime of fighting the waves. He realized that his relentless pursuit of control had been a form of anxiety. It was a constant, exhausting battle against the unpredictable nature of existence. By letting go, he wasn't losing the war. He was finally signing a peace treaty with life itself. Life, he discovered, was never meant to be a fortress built to keep out uncertainty. It was meant to be an open field, to be wandered and explored. The most beautiful moments were not the ones he had scheduled, but the ones that had blossomed in the cracks of his broken plans. The spontaneous laughter he shared with Clara over a burnt dinner, the quiet comfort of holding her hand while watching the sunset, the shared tear of joy when she took her first steps without support. These were the moments that made up the true architecture of a happy life. Arthur never stopped planning entirely. He still made to-do lists and kept a calendar, but he held them lightly. They were no longer rigid laws, but gentle suggestions, a rough map for a journey he now knew could change course at any moment. He stopped trying to control the river and instead learned to build a raft. He learned to navigate the currents, to appreciate the calm stretches, and to hold on tight through the rapids together. He had spent his whole life trying to write his story, only to find that the most beautiful chapters were the ones he never could have imagined. Because life unfolds not according to our plans, but according to its own profound and mysterious rhythm. Every face hides a story, and every story hides a truth. Subscribe for more stories that help us understand life and ourselves a little better.